Hello, everyone. You're listening to a Coffees with Toffees podcast. I will be your host, Flubb, and this is the Flupdate. So we have a kind of short list for you tonight, as you can tell by my normal topics. I only have three listed up there, and one of them is kind of shorter than the others, but one is actually incredibly long, where I'm going to be discussing the 7.04 patch. It is not as big as the last patch, but it is something that is of note and something that I do want to discuss. So there are three things. Obviously, we've already talked about that. I'm going to be talking about the patch, and I'm very excited about that. But I also want to talk about the DAC tournaments or the Dota 2 Asia Championship. I need to talk about that and kind of tell you guys what's going on over the next week. We also have the availability of talking about a new upcoming style of playing Veno that has been developed over the past week. And I kind of want to keep you guys updated with that. So those are the kind of the three topics that we're going to be going over today. I do want to kind of let everyone know I was sick last time. I kind of sent out a message over Twitter. Sorry if you don't follow me on there. You didn't really get the message. That's why I was not here last week. So hopefully we can make it up this week and we can talk about a little bit different stuff. If you are interested, I did actually do the night after the 7.03 patch was released. I did a special Brewmasters draft with me, Kimbrel, and my good buddy Fafnir. He is my co-caster a lot of times for whenever I'm online and doing any type of casting gig. So if you are interested, you can always go there. But for the most part tonight, I may touch on 7.03 because it's still fresh and that it was like only a week and a half ago that one was released. And I want to, it still affects the outcome of where 7.04 is looked at. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of that as well, since I missed it out on that last week. But without further ado, I'd like to go into what we're here tonight. We're here to talk about these subjects, not just go on and on about what the possibility of what we will talk about. So we're going to talk about Dota 2 Asia Championships. They're actually starting right now. So if you guys are interested, obviously, I do appreciate the views right now, but if you want to come back, watch this on YouTube or listen to it on the podcast, go ahead and do that. I highly encourage it because they are starting right now. The group stages are starting as my show is airing, and the first game will be OG versus Wings. So an exciting matchup to begin the game, to begin the series, anyway. And it'll be going on all this week. The time zones are on CST time zones, so technically the tournament doesn't actually start until tomorrow, quote unquote. But the actual time that it's set up, CST, if you're someone like me in the Eastern time zone, in the North American Eastern time zone, then you are going to have a much different view of it. It is not going to be the 27th, but it is going to be the 26th. So that is going on right now. Also, on the third day of the group stage, which that's what is going on right now, the tournament, the solo tournament, will begin, and then it will finish up on the April 2nd, and that has obviously we haven't had one in a little while. I am really looking forward to it. The participants for this one are going to be Miracle, SumaiL, however you say his name. I feel like I mispronounce it all the time. Sccc, Burning, EternalEnVy, Blink, Paparazi, and Arteezy, of course. So those are going to be the participants if you are interested. And not only do we have a solo tournament, we also have an all-star tournament that is going to be happening as well at the same time. And that is actually going to be on April 3rd. So they're going to have a break in the action, play their games on April 3rd. And it's a really funny matchup. It's going to be Team China versus Team World. Kind of reminds me of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. But I guess China's going against the World instead, trying to get the girl. So it'll be interesting. On Team China, we got Burning, Sccc, rOtk, FY, and Faith Beyond. It's funny how I just have to say like all these little. I don't actually say their names. I just say like the letters in their names. But that's Team China for you. And then Team World, we got Miracle, SumaiL, Iceiceice, EternalEnVy, and JerAx. So should be really fun matches. I love these little side events. They're a good break in the monotony a lot of times when you are watching it for an entire week, which we will be it'll be glorious, but at the same time it's good to have a small break in between. So I'm excited for that. And these teams look great in general. I think that all these Chinese players are obviously really good, but personally for myself, the Team World is the one I'm more rooting for. I really like to watch Iceiceice play. I really respect JerAx as a player. I mean, I respect all of these players. Obviously, they are here for a reason, and it's going to be good, clean fun. So, all right. But without further ado, I want to get to the thing that pretty much everyone's here for, right? The 7.04 patch notes. And I'm going to give a little bit of my classic Flubb spice to it. Also, I want to, like I said before, I'm going to put in some things from 0.03. So just some things that I feel like you guys should keep in mind. Just one or two things. It won't be that strenuous. Because I want to keep this down and keep you guys informed. And you guys have honestly, you guys have probably played the patch at least one or two games, so you start to get a feel for it anyway. All right, so we got Hurricane Pike. The recipe for Hurricane Pike got changed from 250 to 500 gold. Obviously, this is a very big change. It is bumping it by 100% for the recipe cost, and that's nothing to shake a finger at. Obviously, it's 250 for 500 is not like the highest jump, but in retrospect, it is kind of still a problem for the item. I still think the item is very, very strong, and it's something that should not be put together lightly. It's not something that's it's just its availability for what it does is crazy, and it's something that it's a reason for why something works later on in this session, like how I want to describe how maybe's Veno works with it. But more about the item that's important is when you're looking at this item, it's like the king of moving around the map and just availability for what it can do for your team and versus opponents in general. And I think that the best way to actually stop this, and I hope hopefully I got a guy from Valve listening to the show right now, and they can make this item come true. But I want to make an item for Dota that grounds a target. And if you could like somehow ground a target, ground an ally, yourself, or an enemy, and make it so that they can't be force-staffed or pushed or anything like that. I know it kind of already exists with having root being a thing and not being able to use blinks and things like that, and it's just a real good lockdown. But I don't want that capability on just rooting, and rooting is already really powerful. We already have Meepo being ridiculously powerful right now. I mean, he's not overpowered, but it's super annoying, and anything to make that hero worse is always good. So I don't want him to get a necessary buff or roots to get buffed like that. I just feel like there should be something to kind of counteract this Hurricane Pike and Force Staff meta that has existed for ever. It seems like the past few years, like it's always about the Force Staffs. Yeah, there's some items that kind of do a better job in certain areas. Having the Glimmer Cape is one of them, but it's just not the same. Hurricane Pikes are just too good. We need something to counteract it. So getting off that soapbox for a second, we're going to go into the other parts of the patch notes. Silver Edge recipe just got increased from 300 to 500. Not quite as big a deal as Hurricane Pike, but still something of importance. Still lessens the item a little bit. Ghost Scepter cooldown reduced from 25 to 20. Still, this item is not as useful because you have ways to purge the Ghost Scepter. I feel like that's more of its problem at this point. If it was unpurgeable, though, it would be way too good. It just kind of needs to find some middle ground to the item. And even though Diffusal is not like the most popular item right now, it's not something that is completely unheard of either. So it's just in a weird place, and I don't really think that even this helps it out that much. Sanjin Yasha got changed up once again. The proc chance for that got increased from 35 to 40. And it's actually quite a big deal to have that happen. It's already been buffed up. I think it was buffed up, yes, in 0.003 it was, and 0.02 it was as well. So it's been getting some love as time goes on. And really, if you think about it, Sage and Yasha is very, very strong, especially on some melee cores that need that movement speed as well. Because if you're already building the Echo Saber, which is very useful anyway, you're getting those two strikes in. That adds the slow, and obviously you're getting the just the two strikes. So two strikes at 40%, you divide that out, it's going to be 60% because it's two times. But the odds of it actually proccing again and then having the movement speed to probably chase them down, especially if you have someone that has like a stun, someone like Sven or Wraith King or something like that, that availability for that item is just, it's gonna proc. And it's gonna keep people slowed down more, and it's kind of just adds that extra level of usefulness and CC that you can like move out of things. So it can kind of fit into a draft where you don't have to have all these maelstroms anymore, in my opinion. They're still very useful, and maelstroms are something that we'll get into more as time goes on. I just think that watch out for Sage and Yasha. It's something to really look forward to in the next couple games, maybe even in the DAC tournament. Heaven's Halberd got a cooldown reduced from 22 to 18. I like this item, and I've always liked it since it came out. I just don't think that it's at a strong point right now. Even with Sage and Yasha being upgraded, it's really hard to split Sage and Yasha for certain heroes and make Heaven's Halberd and Manta, because Manta is just so good right now. The availability to make a hero that works for both is meh. And maybe they can make more heroes that are available in the future that can maybe benefit from what that split can do. I just feel like Yasha's just way stronger at this point, and Yasha going into Manta is way stronger. So it's just not as strong as I would like it to be. Slippers of Agility are no longer available at the side shop. Now, this is a big deal for a lot of people, obviously, because you cannot get the Poor Man's Shield at the side shop. You can get a shield. Generally, a lot of times, I would get a shield, go out to lane, have that potential of having that block, and maybe even get one slippers. And then, you get one last hit, or you kind of just sit off to the side while they're pressuring you, and then you can finish it up at the side shop, giving you not only having the regen in lane without having to call the courier, and having the Poor Man's Shield. It's way better to have that combo up top than it is to generally have the availability of getting the Poor Man's Shield and then one regen item and then going out to lane and then having to call more regen items if they pressure you, because they will pressure you if you're building a Poor Man's Shield. Otherwise, why are you building a Poor Man's Shield? So it's a real strong nerf to like certain styles of off lane, and it's something to look out for. I would be careful of that in general. Something that I noticed that's in 7.03, it's not a 7.04 patch, is that gifting moon shards. One, it's global, and it's something to keep in mind. Obviously, a lot of people have already been talking about it, and there's been a lot of general movement on that. So it's a global. It's really cool that that's global, but that's not the important part. The important part is that obviously you want heroes that can farm the potential of getting that item if you're going to get gifted. A lot of times there's been different plays for it. People have been picking up Alchemist a lot because obviously you can just gift everything. You can gift freaking Aghanim Scepters. You can gift Moon Shards now. But I don't think that that's the play. I don't think that you should lessen your core. You should go from the support. The support should be the one that's giving up the farm. And Bounty Hunter is kind of at a stronger point than ever. Because having the availability of what 7.03 happened, and it kind of lessened what Slaughter could have available to him. So his Corrosive Haze got lowered. There's a couple other things. His stun got lessened slightly, not by a lot. So he's still a strong pick, and he's still something that I I will guarantee that will be picked a lot of times in these tournaments here to come. He he still offers a little bit less than what Bounty Hunter can do at some points in certain games. Having the track available just gives you more gold. It gives you that ability to possibly even get moon shards. So a lot of times what I've been doing on Bounty Hunter is that it gives you the sight the same sight potential that the Corrosive Haze does. Obviously, it doesn't give you the minus armor, so that is a kind of sucks. But it does give you the extra gold and the potential to really ramp up from that point. And a lot of times, what I do is I get my Greaves up, I get my Force Staff up, or some type of ability to stay alive, whether it's Force Staff. You can get Glimmer for your teammates if you're going up against like a Necrophos or something. But having like one survivability item, I wouldn't necessarily say Glimmer, probably like Blink or Force Staff, and then go into a Moon Shard for your carry. A lot of times it'll really help them out. There's a lot of carries that really benefit from getting that extra Moon Shard at this point in time. They're like very popular in the meta. So I encourage you to do that in your pubs or even in gameplay with your teams or friends. It's a lot of fun. Works really well. All right, so some other changes that I've come across that 7.04 has brought us. Centaur has his Scepter damage got reduced, and it did get reduced down to 50% in 0.03, but now they're reducing it down to 40%. So even though it's only 40%, it's still global damage reduction. So it's still pretty hard to argue with the results. If they drop it down to 30%, I think they might have a case for not getting it. It's still pretty damn good though. Monkey King, a lot of changes. I feel like this hero is just kind of garbage now. He's in captain's mode as of the last patch, as of 0.03. Now in 0.04, Monkey King he has the primal slow. Has been rescaled from 40, 50, 60, 70% to 30, 45, 60, 75%. And if anyone who's ever played Monkey King, you pretty much only went one level for a little while in it. So it's very hard to have that potential of what it's available to do without... I mean, they technically made it better later on, but that's not how you build Monkey King. And yeah, you need to change that up to make it work, but I would lessen other stuff and then keep that good or make that better if that's what you're wanting the hero to do. Monkey King also has a wind-up sound, obviously, that you could hear before whenever he jumps, but now nearby enemies can hear that sound. So kind of lets them know that they're getting ganked at that time, and the wind-up's not anywhere near as useful as it used to be. Magnus, he got a little bit of a change. His base attack time got increased from 1.7 to 1.8. That is a nerf, and it can really affect your timing. So when you're playing Magnus, watch out for that in general. He also got a nerf to his reverse polarity, which is definitely needed. His cooldown got increased from 120, 110, 100 to just a straight 120. Very important to note. You're not going to be as pushbackable as the late game happens. There's a lot of times where, yeah, if you died in a team fight and you used it, wasn't that big a deal, because by the time that if you had like a good push going, you could have it up by the time they got to your base, and this just adds like 20 more seconds leeway time for that to happen. So it's good to have. It's good to have. Plus, I like keeping big ultimates like that at a straight time so that you can just hit a button and say, hey, it's up in 120 seconds always whenever I hit this button. If you don't do that, I would highly suggest having something mapped to your keyboard for timings. Abaddon got changed up a little bit. His strength got reduced. His strength gain got reduced from 2.7 to 2.5. His miscoil speed got reduced from 2,000 to 1,600. So just some things to keep in mind. I still think the hero is still pretty strong. I wouldn't put him completely out of your repertoire, but he has lost some of his offlane potential with the other nerf to his mana shield in 0.03. Lifestealer got a little bit of a change. His base damage got reduced by 2, something that might affect your last hits in the beginning. I think that he's still very strong, and I would not worry about it in general. Keeper of the Light, his base damage got reduced from 43 to 57 to 43 to 50. So he does a lot less damage with his auto attacks, really something that was needed. he's just a lot more fair now. He still has a great kit, very very strong. I wouldn't keep him down or count him out. Sorry. The Brewmaster's Drunken Brawler got reduced from 16, 14, 12, 10 to 13, 12, 11, 10. A little bit of a reduction for each level. Makes more sense to go into the whole drunken, what is it? Not Drunken Brawler, the Drunken Haze. Drunken Haze, maxing that a little bit more makes a little bit more sense now. And, having the one level in Drunken Brawler is not as bad as a build. Nature's Prophet got some heavy, well, not heavy changes, but some kind of big deal changes. His level 10 talent got increased from 225 health to 250, whatever. But his level 15 talent got changed from 35 plus 35 move speed to plus 4 treants summoned. So they brought that back into play. And I, for one, am interested. I think that if they're going to have that, it's going to be good to do that early. It is not going to make him useful starting off, though. I may be eating my own words in the DAC tournament. There's already AoE out there to take care of it. Like I was saying before, Keeper of the Light is not nerfed into the ground. So if you're going to have a guy that with these big wave potentials, like Sniper, Keeper of the Light, all these guys that are really good at these high ground wave pushes or pushing things away magically from a tower, it's just not going to be, he's not going to be as useful with more of them. He would just need to get like more health on them or more damage on them. Razor got changed up a little bit. His level 20 talent went from plus 30 attack speed to plus 40 attack speed, and his other level 20 talent went from plus 275 health to plus 325 health. The bonus attack speed, I already had been saying a lot about the bonus attack speed being really, really good, and they gave him 10 more attack speed. It's really solid. I really like where he's at right now, and actually I'm kind of going to talk about Death Prophet as well, because I think that there's some items that kind of work really well between the two of them that I want to discuss. So I'm going to talk about her stuff real quick. So Death Prophet, her level 10 talent went from plus 10% magic resistance to plus 12%, and her exorcism spirit damage got increased from 55 to 58, which doesn't seem like a lot, but each spirit gets more of a damage buff, giving it the exponential damage goes up more and more as more spirits hit you. So it's actually a decent buff to her. I also like what they've buffed about the heroes. So they've lessened the ability for TPs in general. So actually going for early bots is really strong right now. And if you have heroes that are able to kind of work in that environment with having durable or abilities that they can kind of work around by offering other things, maybe tankiness or the ability just to exist and do some damage, which both of them do, you can do a lot with that. And they both need some move speed in general, and they need mana. So they need the ability to just move around the map, charge up, heal. One of the things that is kind of hard about Death Prophet is that she has an ultimate that goes on long cooldown. But the thing about that is that she has the ability to get from lane to lane, and she's super fast with the ability of having bots. So if you can take advantage of where people are TPing to and kind of bait your ultimate, not actually release it, but get people to think that you're going to release it, TP to another lane, when they TP to that lane and kind of use your ultimate at that point, I feel like that is the way to play her now. Similarly to Razor, where Razor has a very hard time farming in general as a main core, but he offers a very similar aspect where he needs movement speed and he needs to be able to get to fights when useful. So whenever I see Razor, I would like to pick him for the availability of generally zapping out a lot of people's damage and then TPing to another lane to be able to kind of use that potential that no one else kind of can give to the game. So if you're really looking forward to that, I would highly suggest going into that type of build with Razor, kind of getting that movement speed. Also, Death Prophet and Razor both, something that's really great about them is that they both work really well with the new drum set. The drums generally give mana regen, which both of them desperately need, and it gives them the movement speed once again, with some availability to having some stats that they need as well. So if you can kind of play these heroes a little bit differently, and that's kind of what's happening right now, is that people with these talents, they're finding ways to play people that they didn't go with before. And if you figure out that before anyone else can, that'll put you ahead in this game. Definitely more so than it ever has. All right, so I'll get off my soapbox for a second once again, and I'm gonna just keep going down the list here. Queen of Pain, her Shadow Strike got reduced. Her cast point got reduced from 0.452 to 0.4. And whatever, that's not that big a deal. Phoenix got some buffs. I really enjoy that. I love that Phoenix hero, that fiery bird. She or his or its, I'm not really sure. After I say I love that hero, I can't remember what sex she comes from or whatever creature she is. The level 15 talent gets increased from 120 gold per minute to 150. Very, very strong. I highly suggest that talent. Her other talent is, out of level 15, is the Fire Spirit talent, and it did do plus 50 damage to the DPS of the Fire Spirits, and it now has changed to plus 65. I still think that it's very strong in general just to have the gold permitted on Phoenix. You need some items to be able to make her kit work. So I would generally go for the gold per minute. Kunkka. Kunkka's availability is a little bit different now. Not too much though. Just add some minor buffs to his talents. His level 10 talent was plus 25 damage. Now it's plus 30. I would have gotten that in the first place over the other one. And his level 15 talent, it was plus 20 move speed, and it is now plus 30 move speed. Kind of feel like they're moving the movement speed talents into the right direction. People weren't picking them up because they're too low, and they weren't really offering anything. So giving them something to work with is always good, and they're moving in the right direction. All right, now we got Lycan. Lycan's base damage got increased by 3. Not really much else. I think that the hero is still a niche pick. I think that there are some heroes that are really good versus him in the meta right now. I don't like him versus Slark. His leash and being able to turn invisible is just very, very strong. Having a lot of general lockdown for him with some of these supports that exist is just very hard to find a really good Lycan that's worth it, and you can find the right rhythm to it. Though you have the availability of going TP boots and kind of using that general advantage with how the armor change has worked for towers in general. So if you're looking towards this hero, it may be something that kind of helps him out a little bit, but not a lot. Arc Warden's strength gain got increased from 2.3 to 2.7. Once again, not that big a deal. Lone Druid's level 15 talent got changed. Very, very much needed. He was generally useless to build in general. Like, you could not build Spirit Bear form at all. And his level 15 talent got increased from 30 damage to the Spirit Bear to 50 damage to the Spirit Bear. Still think it's very useless to have something like this. And I would say that if you're looking to build the Spirit Bear form, it's still not very viable, but they have heard our complaints, and we need to generally push them into that direction once again. Ancient Apparition, his Cold Feet mana cost cooldown went down from 150 to 125. So obviously if you're going for that talent later on, and that level 25 talent, getting all those charges of Cold Feet, that helps out then a little bit. Takes off generally 100 mana that you need to have in your mana pool. Can be a problem sometimes on a hero like him. But in the beginning, I generally don't like Cold Feet's good, but his other abilities are the things that I worry about more getting for a hero like him. Having that increased magic damage with the chilled area, and having Chill Touch. Chill Touch is just way too strong of an ability to ignore. So meh, not that good. Alright, so Broodmother. Broodmother buffs once again. Her insatiable hunger lifesteal got changed from 60, 90, 120 to 60, 100, 140. Pretty good. Her also insatiable hunger damage got changed from 60, 90, 120 to 60, 100, 140. So very similar change on that percentage mark. I don't I think that she's actually has the chance to be viable. I would not pick her because every time I've been trying to pick her up in my pubs, they always are picking up Alchemist because Alchemist is so popular right now to just gift stuff away. So everyone's always trying to have those types of games. Just look out for that. Bristleback. Bristleback's Quill AoE spray went from 625 to 650. Not a big enough buff to make him viable. Sorry, Bristleback fans. I'm just as much of a fan of Bristleback as many. I don't think he's viable. Don't pick him. Puck. Her base damage, or its base damage got increased by 3, and from the last patch, her gold buff got changed to 420 gold per minute. So she's incredibly strong now. That base damage actually helps out already. She was already pretty dang good, and she's just kind of grown to a new level with having this potential ranged base damage. Melee base damage is good deal. You can get last hits more often, but generally you're not harassing with it. Having a ranged base damage increase is a very big deal for harassment's sake in general. So pick up those pucks. If there's one thing you get from this Flupdate episode, pick Puck. She's good. Lich. Lich is our last hero that we're going to talk about for the patch. Lich got a Chain Frost cooldown from 120, 90, 60 to 100, 80, 60. So that's the cooldown reduction that happened. I actually think that that's kind of a big deal. It was something that I was kind of talking about earlier with Magnus. Magnus has the ability, I mean, he went from his last level 120 to 100. 100 seconds actually goes by a lot quicker than 120 for some reason. It just feels like that's like kind of the peak of time whenever team fights generally want to kind of rise up again. So it's something you may want to look forward to. I feel like he is still a niche pick though. I wouldn't pick him. Sorry, it's just he still has a lot of problems, and unless you're picking like Chrono to make it work, then you can just run away from his ultimate a lot, especially with having Darkseer being nerfed down with Vacuum once again. All right, so that kind of finishes up the whole thing about the 7.04 patch, and we are going to go into something, the maybe core Veno. That's what I've been talking about. So maybe core Veno is something that happened in the Manila Masters when I was sick last week. He was kind of playing this, and it was during the Manila Masters. It was a couple of different games that they did this, but he had this idea for a core Veno where you would go mid and he would gale people, kind of force them out of lane to exist. You would just kill whoever was there, and it's very hard to just bully him out of lane because then he just goes on to the other person and they TP in another support and they can pretty much get a guaranteed kill. So the potential of what that offers, that push out, is very very strong, and the way that you build him is very similar to the abilities that a low druid gets. He gets them at different timings, so it's not anywhere near as crazy. I don't think it's broken by any means, but it is a very strong way to play, and it's something that I would encourage you guys to look forward to. It's so you generally try to go into getting you want to try to get a Maelstrom. Maelstroms are very important, and you need to get push staff into Force Pike, using the Force Pike to push people away and push yourself back at the same time. He's all about the kite, and if you can kite around people and just move around in good directions with a hero like Veno, it's very, very important. So having that damage buff at level 20, let's set like 75 damage. If you can get to level 25 and get a minus 60-second cooldown on your respawn time as a carry, that is incredible, because that means you are guaranteed you're going to be into the next fight if you die on their side of the map, pretty much. If you die in base, it's not guaranteed, but even then you can have a buyback probably because you're going to be a core. So really, really good. I like this idea that Maybe came up with. I highly encourage it during the Manila Majors, Manila Masters. LGD, just look for the LGD games, guys. All right, so that kind of closes out our show. I'm going to have to kind of end it there. I know it kind of went a little bit long. Sorry for those who generally want that 20-minute timer. I look that it's now almost going to hit 40 by the end of it, so I'm sorry for that. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were updated on these patch notes. So, to help us out, you guys can subscribe or like any of our videos. You can watch them on our YouTube channel, twitch.tv/Toffees_Dota2. You can also go to our YouTube channel, 5 Minus Gaming. Also, if you want to give to if you're feeling extra generous and you want to give to our Patreon, you can give to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/Toffees. If you are wanting to just listen to the audio versions of any of these casts, you can always follow us on Stitcher, iTunes, or SoundCloud under the Coffees with Toffees name. If you have any questions for Toffees or me, you can follow Toffees at Toffees TV. You can follow me at my Twitter page at Flupdate. Also, if you guys are interested, once again, I want to remind you, there is a patch note review for the 7.03 patch. So if you're interested, it's under my other show, the Brewmaster's Draft. So if you want to jump over there, you can watch it at any of our channels. Also, if you have any questions for me for the Flupdate, or just ask me in general for casting, you can go to my email address and email me at crazyflub@gmail.com. So if there's any, if you guys didn't notice, I actually am not doing the Flub questions anymore. If you guys do have any questions for me, I will put them up in the future. But it seems to be that people weren't really enjoying that segment, and I'm sorry for those of you who were enjoying it. I know, Tim, you were enjoying it yourself because you were asking me plenty of questions. But you can just ask me those questions and I will be happy to just answer them through email from now on. Okay, guys. Well, I hope that you have left here feeling updated, and I encourage you to go watch the DAC games. They're going to be a hell of a lot of fun, and I'm going to enjoy it myself. So I'll catch you guys next week, or even tomorrow on the Brewmaster's Draft. See you later.